Hello, today I will present to you the project Mayhem. Control will not create the tamed and the docile, but a chimeric creature which has become other. The project explores the destructive nature of historical systems of control which attempt to dominate the natural order. The project Mayhem looks at how these attempts to control always seem to go awry, as they unleash chaos, resulting in its human and non-human subjects irreversibly changing into a chimeric other. The project proposes a facility that would serve as a Neuralink research center and a space of cohabitation for dolphins and humans. The site is located at Omelik Island in the Pacific Ocean, a former SpaceX launching site. The first case study that demonstrates the concept of Project Mayhem is the controlled environment of the Forbidden City in Beijing, which was a complex of palaces that was designed to operate as a smooth machine with humans, non-humans, and non-human animals as operating mechanisms. However, the imposed rationality of the palace led to nothing but the smoothness of operation, and we can see that in the two main subjects of this case study, the eunuch and the Pekingese dog. The eunuchs had to physically transform in order to enter the palace as royal servants. Tamed by emasculation, they were completely uprooted from their background and were met with an extreme system of controls full of protocols and physical constraints that were meant to further impose their subordination. The palace machine operated smoothly, as it should, in the day, while at night the eunuchs were found misusing the spaces of control, smoking opium, gambling, drinking, submitting to sexual activities with the palace maids, and committing violent acts such as setting fire to parts of the palace to cover the evidence of theft and corruption. The eunuchs are proof that when faced with an extreme form of control, the human nature is subject to complete malleability, and while being incredibly destructive, the resistance, violent or through seeking leisure, is what opens the human nature to radical change and otherness, resulting in new connections and spaces, and crucially kinships with other species. Indeed, it is in kinship with the palace Pekingese dogs that the eunuchs found rescue. They were found breeding and nurturing these creatures, who came to represent the mode of operation within the palace. Throughout history, dogs have been bred into fast-running hunters and vigilant guards. However, within the palace walls, the criteria for breeding the Pekingese dogs became completely symbolic and according to palace protocol. As a result, the Pekingese dog had been carefully bred to resemble the Buddha's lion, miniaturized and morphed into a chimera of a perfect companion and decoration, stripping off the dog of its original functionality. The imposed rationality upon the nature of the eunuch has allowed the chaos to be unleashed and profound companionship to be forged as a recognition of otherness. The next case study, where extreme control completely and violently uproots one of its fixed nature, is the Dolphin House, a research program funded by NASA in the 1960s, which aimed at teaching the dolphins to speak and understand the human language as a model work for interspecies and even intergalactic communication. They built a house on the edge of the Virgin Islands, which had been transformed into a wet cohabitation of humans and dolphins. Margaret Levat volunteered to stay in residence with a dolphin called Peter for a year to maximize the progress. She slept in her bed in the middle of the flooded room and worked on a desk suspended from the ceiling. And while the program was framed as a scientific study, the close proximity had made Peter fall in love with Margaret to the point of seeking intimacy with her. Here's an extract from their lesson.
Today is August 18. This is the morning lesson with Peter. Hello. Hello. Clearly, Peter.
Eventually, the experiment came to a halt, as the story of Margaret's peculiar relationship with Peter had made the news, and the main scientist got too absorbed in his LSD endeavors. Although in a different time and societal framework from the Forbidden City, the controlled scientific environment of the Dolphin House destroyed any preconceptions, identities, habits and histories of control, and all species had been transformed into a radical other, leaving behind a new type of kinship and architecture. To this day, we still these types of experiments which try to deal with the intelligence and communication of humans and other species. In 2019, Elon Musk presented his company Neuralink, which has done its experiments on animals and has already seen the progress of the monkey playing ping pong with its mind.
As you can see, Pager is amazingly good at mind pong.
In 2025, Elon Musk inserted himself with a chip, and a month in, decided to begin the Neuralink experiments on dolphins in a new facility. Dolphin House 2 becomes an extension of the original Dolphin House, where the focus remains on teaching the dolphins to speak English as a model work for intergalactic communication, this time involving the latest AI technologies. Building for dolphins requires a different set of rules and requirements. I've used the approved building regulations for marine mammal facilities to design the spaces of control to be inhabited by humans and dolphins. Now let's have a closer look at Dolphin House 2.
It's 6 of us here, main personnel and around 5 off-site in San Francisco. We've got animal trainers, veterinarians, anthrozoologists and electrical engineers. The main goal is to establish an interspecies communication research centre and space for cohabitation between humans and dolphins. We've signed a contract for 36 months and we're set to teach the Neuralink dolphins to speak and understand the human language.
Let me show you the briefing room. The briefing room is the brain of the facility. Here, the main decisions are made and new algorithms are input into chat, cetacean hearing and telemetry program, an AI system which collects and monitors the data from both humans and dolphins for optimization of control systems. The data is also used as a control variable for design decisions, which are generated by input from dolphin building regulations and translated into an algorithm. This way, the successes and failures are documented and stored. This is our living quarters. It will gradually be redesigned to maximize interspecies interaction. This is the filtration room that holds the life support systems, sand filters, biofilters, which are a key part of the control architecture of the facility, as they ensure appropriate water quality for dolphins and humans.
This is our surgery robot. It actually does the entire surgery, from the incision, removing the skull, insertion of the electrodes, placing the device, and then closing things up. The dolphins undergo their Neuralink implantations here on site, in the surgery room. In order to enter the surgery room, we will need to go through this hygiene corridor and be completely sanitized. If you could step here. The medical pool is designed specifically to cater to veterinary operations. We have a slew of instruments including filters, humidifiers and sensors which ensure optimal conditions for the dolphins.
Yes, as you have mentioned, we, unfortunately, lost 7 dolphins to complications post-surgery and there was a series of resignation from Neuralink headquarters. It took some serious work, but we've thoroughly resolved the issues. There had been no problem with healing since.
We spend up to 6 hours per day, if we're on duty, sorting out the food and making sure it is done with the strict consideration of hygiene and all sanitary regulations. All of this takes place in the fish kitchen, where each portion of the food is weighed and sorted into rations.
Interspecies communication training has been going well underway. Dolphins are sonic creatures which perceive space and communicate with the use of echolocation. The underwater interactive panel has been used as an interface to create a common alphabet between humans and dolphins.
Black dots here are the hydrophones, 16 in all, and the cable just takes the signals from the hydrophone to the computer.
Neuralink employs the latest equipment to record, document, decipher and store the information from training sessions. Recently, however, a number of documents went missing from our database, and we've opened an investigation on that issue.
It's been 3 months out of the 36, and we're all beginning to feel the toll of isolation. Neuralink has set up a gaming and craft station to bring us together. However, it only induced the loneliness, as we would much prefer spending time with the Neuralink dolphins. Chat AI has shown interest in helping us design new interaction spaces. Recently, the dolphins have learned to imitate the sounds of life systems, filtrations, and drainages. Every Wednesday, we go to listen to them, a choir of creaks and whistles, joined with the bubbling of the equipment.
Around the spring, the dolphins left, migrated in anticipation of the scorching heat. We noticed that without the dolphins, the systems need more frequent service. The maintenance of the facility without the interspecies training feels like an intensive labour without the reward. We feel trapped here on this tiny island. The shallow area of pools became our hangout space. At night, when all control sensors had been checked, floors scraped, equipment disinfected, we gather here for a smoke and some beers. A bespoke table had been designed to further maximise interaction between the two species and to celebrate the return in an informal setting.
1, 2, 3.
Just to say as a closing statement, the project tries to recognize the control as a de facto state, the existence of which should not be ignored. Project Mayhem acknowledges the destruction that comes with the attempts at absolute control and the suffering that it brings. And it tries to point out that it's the recognition and acknowledgement of entities like the Eunuch, Margaret, and creatures of Dolphin House 2, and a shift in their nature that allows for radical otherness and potentiality of other realities, other humans, other kinds of kinships and architectures to exist.